of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you'll just remain standing for a moment, I will give tonight's invocation. Dear God, we ask that you be with us while we conduct the business of this council for the benefit of our city, and ask that we use the wisdom of all those who advise us and our own good judgment and common sense to come to the decisions that are in the best interests of our city. In your name we pray. Amen. Mr. Clerk, would you call the roll?
Councilman Templin.
Present.
Councilman Cisco.
Present.
Councilman DeGiulio is asked to be excused. Councilwoman Gavaraki.
Present.
Councilman Rourke. Madam Pro Tem McLeod. Treasurer Armstrong.
Present.
And Mayor Mategas.
Present.
We have a quorum, sir.
I ask for the agenda for tonight's meeting, October 8, 2019. A motion from the council.
Support.
Councilman Cisco has moved. Councilman Templin has supported. Is there any discussion? I hear none. I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. Thank you. I need a motion for approval of the minutes for the September 24th, 2019 council meeting. Excuse me. Mayor Pro Tem McLeod has moved. Do I have a support?
Support.
Councilman Rourke has supported. Is there any discussion, changes, questions? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That is carried. Thank you. We're at organizational business. The city administrator, please.
Cruising along, and we hit the roadblock. Sorry. Good evening, Mayor, Council, residents of Allen Park. Some updates on some projects we're working on. The street sectioning program, Savone Cement, they started work on Wick Road today. That is going to be a project goes from Allen Road to Reek Road, including the intersection of Wick and Reek, and that will be closed for approximately 30 days. I did send out a nixle on that last night, did post it up to the Facebook page, get that information out as best as possible, and it looked like they were making some progress there. When I drove by this morning, they were already ripping up the asphalt, making some headway. For the street improvement millage from McLean Avenue, Park to Rosedale, GV Cement was placing sod today as part of that restoration portion of the project. Park Avenue is closed to traffic north of Champaign intersection. We had the contractor close that intersection down to facilitate, get that all finished up to help facilitate the Cabrini Parade, which is coming up on Friday. And they should be all done. Everything was poured. We did have one issue. We had some footprints that somebody decided to walk through. So they will be doing some patchwork on that. And then, unfortunately, then they'll have to come back out and take that back out. They just won't have enough time to take it out and get it repaired and open up for Friday. So we'll just do a temporary patch on those and go from there. GV is also working on the on Thomas between Park and Quant. They've already replaced the north side of Thomas. They're now removing and forming the south side of the street, and they should be pouring concrete by the end of this week. And that we'll get that project wrapped up here in the next couple weeks as well. For our CDBG program, we have ramps coming to the downtown area. We're going to be doing the intersections of White and Allen Road and Philomene and Allen Road. We're just waiting to sign the contracts with Dominic Gaglio Construction, and we'll get that started probably within the next week and a half or so. I think the contracts will be ready for the mayor to sign tomorrow, clerk and mayor to sign, and we'll be able to get moving. Bushes and equipment are being removed from Humpty Dumpty Park in order to clear the way for new equipment. We received our notice to proceed from Wayne County Community Development Block Grant, and we also received notification that Wayne County Commission finally approved the Wayne County Parks Grant, which was the majority of the funding for that. Pat has scheduled a community build for October 16th and 17th. From 9 o'clock to 4 p.m. The park is located at the intersection of, or at the corner of Arlington and Lawrence. This is at the north end, north of Southfield. And their volunteers are encouraged to register with Parks and Recreation. The number for that is the 313-928-0771. That is the Parks and Rec office prior to the event. And I do have a flyer here, and I know that's on the Facebook page. I believe it's on the website. I believe it's on the cable. I think it's on the Recreation Facebook page, and so APCCF website as well. So a lot of, hopefully, get some people out there to help on that. I know that's a long time coming. I think we were hoping to get this done in September. Unfortunately, when you're dealing with some grants, there's a couple more steps that have to be go through in that. So, but it is being funded with very little. I don't see Pat there. I'm going to guess very little city funds going into this. Probably less than $10,000. So it is mostly all grant funded, which would be a nice enhancement to that neighborhood. As I mentioned, Cabrini High School is going to have their homecoming parade on Friday. That route, I believe, is Park Avenue to Wick, to the Lawrence, to the stadium. And that, I don't know what the starting time on that one. For Mike Cabrini, parade 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock?
I believe it was 4 o'clock.
Okay.
Let me double check. I think it's in the minutes.
Okay. The Historical Commission, they're hosting the Ghost.
5:30, I apologize.
Sorry, 5:30 for the Cabrini parade down Park Avenue, along the all the new concrete there, so it should be nice. No potholes to step in prior to Belmont. That's off the table. Historical Commission, they're going to be hosting the Ghostbusters and S'mores event this Saturday, October 12th. That's going to be from 1:30 to 4:30, and that is at the Allen Park Historical Museum on the corner of Park Avenue in Inglewood. The fire department has their open house scheduled for Sunday, October 13th from 11 to 2. That is at the fire station on Roosevelt. Lighted Christmas parade on Park Avenue being held. I hate mentioning Christmas right now. It's such beautiful days out there. But lighted Christmas parade on Park Avenue will be held Friday, November 22nd, and that's starting at 6:30. I believe, I'm not seeing anybody from Historical, but I believe they may be doing a tree lighting again this year. And last time it was at 6 o'clock, so I'm going to guess probably 6 o'clock as well for tree lighting at the Historical Museum as well. And I'll get that information for next time and put that up there. And then we just had a couple people that are celebrating some milestone anniversaries here with the city. From the fire department, Michael Stasek, he's going to celebrate 25 years on October 12th. And my most important person I work with, sorry, Bob, Deb Zettel from administration, she's going to be celebrating 5 years on the 16th of October. And greatly appreciate their dedication to the city of Allen Park over the years. In regards to, I got a couple more things here that I didn't write down on. Inspector there. I'm going to have, maybe if I can have Ed Can start making his way up to the front, but I'm going to also talk real quick. The SBA, for the flooding that occurred back in April 30th and May 1st, the SBA is still, had an open centers here in Wayne County for loans. So this was the homeowners can apply for low interest disaster loans from the U.S. Small Business Administration. Loans are up to $200,000 are available to homeowners to repair or replace damaged or destroyed real estate. Homeowners and renters are eligible for loans up to $40,000 to repair or replace damaged or destroyed personal property. And the applications are online at the SBA website, disasterloan.sba.gov. This information is on the Facebook page. I believe it is on the website as well. And if I'll go back and verify that we do have the loan application links on there as well. And I've asked Ed to come up real quick update. There's a program going on. It's called Go Impact 360. We've advertised this on the police page, the fire page, the city page for the Facebook, and I think they got plenty of people to help, but now they need people to help.
Correct.
Okay, so if you can go over that real quick for us.
Yeah, they are an excellent group. Go Impact 360 is associated with South Point Church, who has locations in both Allen Park and Trenton. And they've come up with a wonderful idea that it's a couple years old, and they had great success, and it's growing in large numbers to help seniors, disabled residents, disabled veterans, and so forth, who need help doing fall cleanups and raking leaves between the dates of November 10th and November 24th. And while they are still taking applications for people who might need help, what they really need are volunteers, both youth and adult, to come out and help out. We're going to have, as Mark mentioned, our open house this weekend at the fire station on Sunday, the 13th, between 11 and 2, and they're going to have a table there. So you can sign up to volunteer and, you know, come by and see the fire station at the same time. And if you can't make it to that, they have a website called goimpact360.com. goimpact360.com, and you can sign up there to help out. It's a great way to get out in the community in this nice weather, get some exercise, and help out people that need it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chief.
That is everything I have.
I will take a motion to accept and file the updates, reports, and documents. Councilwoman Godrecki has moved. Do I have a support?
Support.
Councilman Cisco has supported. Are there any questions of the city administrator? Councilman
Right on the
Rourke.
corner there, by the old gold store, pawn shop, whatever. What cement is that? Who's doing that?
I believe that might have been an AT&T project. Only reason I say that is they've been down in the downtown area. I'm going to look, Jennifer. I think that's AT&T. I'll have to verify though. Yeah, it's not a DT because DT has been has been their contractor, and I noticed it wasn't major. Yeah, but AT&T was doing some work in that area as they've got a couple locations down Allen Road in the downtown area where they've barricaded off a couple parking spots with their equipment.
Somebody's coming in and doing it for free, a gift.
If it's done right, we'll see.
Any other questions? Comments? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. Thank you very much. We're at the public comment section or questions. I ask you to take a look at the back of your agendas and you will see the rules of decorum that we ask you to use when you come forward to address the council. So without more, please come forward with any questions or comments you may have.
Mark Bailey with the Allen Park Elks, 31st annual pumpkin patch at the end of the month. Want to thank the high school students for the floats. I think you've seen them all on Park Avenue, and we'll be needing volunteers, youth and adult, just like Ed said, on Sunday nights to roam through the village and get some more decorations. And please welcome our special needs brothers and sisters down to the Elks on Halloween night and come down and unstress yourself. Thank you very much for 31 years. Thank you.
Good evening, City Council, Mayor Raymond Gusson Quant. I can't believe it, but it's been 8 years for some of you. I want to personally thank you all for all the time you put in. It's been stressful for some of us, for a lot of you. I know we come up here and we bitch, but you know what? You guys put up with it. You put a lot of your time in, a lot of your energy in. Citizens don't really realize how much time you really put in. I think I did it, figured out one time. You probably get paid about 30 cents an hour. But I know you guys don't do it for the money. You do it for your heart, because you feel good doing it. You're here for the city. You put many of your years in. It's not only 8 years, but you put a lot more before that. I want to thank you, Larry, for what you have done for the city. And even what you're going through right now, you're still coming here every meeting. Harry, we had a lot of good talks. I want to thank you personally. Mr. Mayor, we had our ups and downs, but you know what? It's out of our heart. Gail, thank you very much for all your time. Kevin, you put up with a lot too. I want to thank you personally. Tina, personally want to thank you. You come to a lot of, you all come to more than just these, and you're very, very involved. Maureen, you've been doing this for many years, many years. I want to personally thank you. Mark, done a great job. For the short time you've been, you pulled our city out of the depths. Joe, thank you very much. You always have that smile. Mike, thank you. You did a lot for the city. But I'm going to ask you guys to do one thing, something I realized in the past. Just because your time is up does not mean your time is up. Please come to the meetings. Please keep involved, and I know you will. Only one of you are going to be back. Good luck to you, both of you. And I want to personally thank you now. Thank you very, very much. And you all have a great day.
Well said, Ray. I should thank you for keeping an eye on all of us, too. You do a good job. Oh, sorry. Good evening, everybody. I'm just here to talk for just a couple of minutes about the city inspection, and you know how I feel about it, and I sincerely mean this. If we have a city inspection, I know how to work with it because I struggle through it with many other cities. Probably half to 2/3 of the cities downriver have a city inspection, so we got plenty of experience. It's very difficult. It does make it extremely hard to pull a deal together because the seller has to come up with money for the inspection, then the repairs. If they can't, in a typical example, a senior citizen that has a very limited budget, you know, well, I can't do it. Well, then we have to put that burden on the buyer. And a lot of buyers don't have the money to do it. It's a simple fact of economics. So then we have less possibility to sell a house. We have to find a particular person with a good amount of cash that can do the repairs. Then there's people like me. I maintain my house a little bit too much maybe, and it would be resentful to get charged to have to sell my house. It's just another little exit tax, and I ain't leaving, so don't worry. But that's the thing, it's just, it makes it a lot harder to sell a house. And it's something that if we're gonna prevent blight, I've spoken about this at the last 2 meetings, this isn't the way. It's gonna take us 30 years of selling 400 houses a year to get every single house inspected. My #1 suggestion, and I walk 5 miles every morning, on every single street a different route. I love GPS watches. And I gotta watch where I'm going. There's not a single block that doesn't have multiple trip hazards. And if I'm riding my bike, and that's a shaky thing as it is, in the streets, it's very dangerous. I would suggest if we really wanna achieve the goal of getting rid of blight in Allen Park, which it ain't there, let's do the sidewalk program. Let's use our ordinance officers to, you know, you're driving around, or if a neighbor complains, my neighbor's garage is flaking lead-based paint all over the neighborhood, let's get the actual blight. Let's get the houses that deserve our attention so that it goes away. This is something that almost looks like somebody's getting a job or we want more money. It's a losing money proposition doing a city inspection. We have to pay somebody to do that and somebody to check it. It's not a good thing. I will work with it. I've worked with many cities in the past, but it makes it so much difficulty for us to sell houses in that atmosphere. We hit our peak sales price in 2005. In 2011, we were down to 66,000. We have not gone up a penny this year. We're stuck at 142. So we're not making any headway at all in our price. Who knows what's going to happen in the future? But my prayer is that we will not pass this. If we are considering even doing something like this, why don't we have a committee with people that are actually in the business that could put some input in. It shocks me that no one asked me a single question about this issue. And I've been in this business and in this city, I own a business, I own a house, and I have never even had anybody ask me my input. So please consider those facts, and I hope you do what I want you to do today, okay? You got my vote, Maureen? Mike, you got mine. 57 seconds.
3:56.
Seemed longer.
Good time management.
Hello, my name is Joanne Taylor, and I'm also a resident in Allen Park, and I've been a realtor for 19 years in the Downriver area. And I want to reiterate Lynn's words. I feel as though instituting C of O inspections in the city of Allen Park would be a detriment to the sales in the city of Allen Park. It's very hard to pull these deals together. I think it would be very costly to administrate. I feel the software programs that other cities have would probably be cost prohibitive to put together. When you use outside servicing companies like Lincoln Park does that, I think they have an outside, somebody, outside the city that do it. I've done a lot of work in Hamtramck. Outside, the people are very unreliable. They're not accountable to the cities. So I would just like to say that I think that that is not something that should be instituted without a lot of discussion and a setting of fees and a look into what the benefit to the city of Allen Park really is. I agree. I feel like the blight could be, we've been a self-policing state or city as far as the pride of ownership in its residents and keeping their homes nice. And I feel like, agreed that we could just, neighbors respond about things that they don't like about other people's things. Maybe part of that 360 program where a garage needs to be painted. As resident or as a member of Allen Park Presbyterian Church, I know our youth do a lot of that kind of work. So I just feel like it's not something that should be voted on or voted in today. Thank you.
Charles Blaine, Champaign. First off, I just want to mention that a couple of residents came up to me last month, and I forgot to mention it, that if we could have the volume of the meetings up more, I don't know if it's just the TV provider or if the meetings itself, but I had a couple people come up to me, and I said, I promise I'll tell the council of whatever way we can fix that. Next, I went by the historical house. New roof, chimney, great job with that. More positive things happening, and with Park Avenue being fixed, new road right there. What I love about Allen Park in the October times, we have so many events going on with the Scarecrow, pumpkin patch, sports events and stuff, so I just encourage residents to keep looking at the city website, if you have a Facebook, to look into those events. There's just so much that to get involved with, and I'm glad to see with the Humpty Dumpty Park that's going to have a brand new park for the residents over there. Everyone have a wonderful day and stay positive. Thank you.
Chad Morrow, 6537 Pelham Street. It's kind of a night of thank yous tonight, it seems, because that's one of the things I came up here to do tonight. Actually, it goes back to follow up on last council meeting. What I'd like to talk about is what I saw at the last council meeting and what I heard. The council approved unanimously a Class C liquor license for the Rat Pack, which, again, I thank you for taking the time to do that. I think it's a good thing for the community. But I couldn't help but notice a couple of things stated during the process that really stuck out at me. One being that we learned that these were a brand new license that was established by the state of Michigan specifically for DDA districts. We also learned that there was quite a substantial process for the applicants of these licenses to go through, not only with the city, but with the state as well, in order to get such license. And we also heard that this is a program and a license that was given out as a tool to be used to improve dilapidated buildings. So I'd like to thank the city for going through the process and the steps to take advantage of that license. The other thing I'd like to follow up on is to remind you, come election day, those same points can be applied to the cannabis licenses on the proposal that we have. Now, going forward with this proposal, I know that it's been quite a bit of discussion in the community about it. I want everybody to understand exactly what is on this proposal, though. So with that said, I'd like to let everybody know that we do have a flyer. It's going to be going out to every community, every home in the community with the entire language verbatim. And it also is going to be inviting everybody out to an event at the Elks Lodge, October 20th. This will be from 5 to 8 p.m. I'd like to formally invite everybody on the council. It's going to be a town hall kind of a thing, Q&A with the public. We have some guest speakers as well. Jamie Lowell, which is a co-author of the Michigan Regulation and Taxation of Marijuana Like Alcohol Act. We also have Rick Thompson, who is a speaker for the Michigan Normal Board. We also have a retired police sergeant from Canton by the name of Steve Miller. And myself, of course, will be there as well. And to top it all off, we also have Darren McCarty of the Detroit Red Wings coming in as well. So again, hope to see you all there. Thank you very much.
Kibbe, the Allen Park Downtown Development Authority. I'd like to invite everybody to the 8th Annual Scarecrow Fest this Friday from 3 to 7. We'll supply everything to build your own life-size scarecrow, but I do encourage you to bring clothes. We have clothes, but we always seem to run out of pants. So, if you don't have any clothes, we'll supply them. So come to the farmer's market from 3 to 7. Thank you.
It is on Park, right?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Matt Baker, Building Inspector, City of Allen Park. I just wanted to say a few words in regards to the point of sale inspection for the city. Blight is one thing that is a concern, but there's also another concern. Being an inspector going in and out of these homes, there's internal corrections that need to be made also. And we've been in these homes several other times. These corrections aren't being made. So this is just another assurance that the corrections are being made in accordance to industry standards. Thank you.
I see no one else coming forward. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak before I go on to the next matter? Right? Thank you, those who commented. We'll go to the consent agenda, and I'll take a motion for the consent agenda. It's for the purchasing action of claims and accounts, payroll report, September 2019 finance overview. But
I believe on the claims and accounts there was one. Oh yeah, you can. On all of it? Sure. Excuse me, Mayor, I'm sorry.
the budget to actual report, the balance sheet, the cash flow, resolution to street closure on Park Avenue between Philomene and White, and that's for the 31st annual pumpkin patch, which Mr. Bailey was just before us asking for, and that is going to be from 2 p.m. until 11 p.m. on the 31st, which is a Thursday. And then the resolution to extend the contract of pavement replacement and water main program to GV Cement, who is keeping the same prices as they did in 2019, I think. Those written. Oh, I can't take all of those?
No, I was just wondering that same thing.
Oh, I'm moving along.
Resolutions are supposed to be separate, right?
I thought I was just gonna do the other business. All right, well, disregard my comment on the last two resolutions.
I'll make a motion for the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr.
Support.
Templin, to get me out of that mess. Councilwoman Gavarecki. The first 5 items dealing with finance actions for the city and our purchasing actions. All in favor signify by aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. And we'll show an abstention for, I guess, the whole matter because it's a consent. All right. And that abstention is because we obviously must be reimbursing you some money. Okay, as long as it's less than $1 million, we're all right. All right, now we're at the resolutions. The street closure request by Mark Bailey and the Elks for the 31st annual pumpkin patch on October 31st. And final approval will be from police and fire on that, but I need that motion. Motion. Councilman Rourke has moved.
Support.
Supported by Councilwoman Gavarecki. Is there any discussion on the matter? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That is carried. Thank you. Resolution to extend the contract for pavement replacement program and water main replacement program to GV Cement through 2020 with the same unit prices as 2019, and to waive the city bid process as there's no economic benefit.
Motion.
Councilman Templin has moved. Councilman Cisco has supported. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. It's carried. The Local Officers Compensation Board, 4 recommendations for the elected official salaries. We had quite an extended talk about this particular issue, and there's still a lot of questions. So I said I would take before to see if there would be a motion to table this to the October 22nd meeting. So
I make that motion.
Councilman Cisco has moved that it be tabled. Is there a support?
I'll support that.
Councilwoman Gavarecki has supported. Tabling limits discussion. So all in favor of tabling to the 22nd meeting, signify by aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. That's
No.
Councilman Templin. It is carried, and Councilman Templin has voted no on that matter. A motion for the 3rd hearing and public hearing of Ordinance 4, 2019, Building and Building Regulations, in addition to Article X, Minimum Housing Standard, and Sections 10400 through 10405. A motion to put that before the council and for the citizens to be able to comment.
Motion.
Councilwoman Gavarecki is Councilman Cisco is supported. All in favor signify by aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. That's carried. There will be a 3rd reading, and I'll ask the clerk to make the 3rd reading, please, and then the public will have a chance to come forward and comment and question.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Gavarecki and supported by Councilman Cisco that there shall be a 3rd reading and public hearing for ordinance number 4-2019, an ordinance amending Chapter 10 Buildings and Building Regulations, additions of Article 10, Minimum Housing Standards, and Sections 10-400 through 10-405 to prevent blight by issuing a minimum maintenance of dwellings. There was an article in the paper. There were full copies of it available in the clerk's office. Mayor, you may open it up for public hearing, sir.
Public hearing is now open if anyone would like to come forward and comment on this ordinance or ask questions.
Mayor, City Councilor Raymond Gusson. Mike, I know, through the chair, Mike, I know you just said something. Is the minimum standard posted? So do we know what the minimum standards are?
You know what, I'm not an attorney, I don't know the ordinance inside and out. I mean,
So
you could
that's
defer to
okay.
Matt.
Oh, can I help?
Then
Can I
Joe,
help?
through the
Can I
chair,
help,
Joe?
Mike?
Yeah,
As we
I-
work together
Okay.
here.
I don't
That's
know
okay.
building codes, Ray.
That's okay.
I don't know how to use a hammer.
So what this contemplates is the building department would inspect homes, and they would rely upon the state building codes to ensure compliance.
So is there a checklist, Joe? All I'm asking
Oh,
is,
yes.
as a
Yeah.
citizen, and we got a lot of seniors that are planning to sell homes,
Yep.
that if the building inspectors walk in and they got a personal peeve about certain things,
Right.
which some of them do, because I have dealt with them in the past. Okay, nothing against ours, I'm just saying,
Right.
is there a list or a checklist that the citizens now, instead of getting hit with a $20,000 bill before they have to go ahead and sell their home,
Right.
they can get ready or says, you know what, I'm just not going to sell it.
Yeah, there is, I believe there is, and it's based on the same criteria that is currently used for rental homes. So we currently have, so if you have a rental home in the city, you now have to get it inspected and you have to get it registered. And there's certain standards that have to be met.
So is there a checklist, that's all I'm asking, is there a checklist to go, so they know what they're gonna be going through?
Yeah, in fact, I can show it here. The mayor was so kind to give me a copy of it right here.
Is it gonna, you know what, you can show it, but all I'm asking, is it gonna be posted on the webpage or something, or?
Yes, if this passes, it could definitely be posted. It will be posted.
And through the chair, there is going to be another process where they adopt the application and the fees next meeting. We haven't had an ordinance like this in a while, so.
Hey, I don't want to be the typical seller that all of a sudden for 30 years you don't do nothing for your house, and all of a sudden you're going to sell it. You get all this new stuff done.
No.
You know what I mean?
This will be available to the public, any standards they have.
All right,
And
Joe.
Mr. Baker's here right now.
So currently, we use the 2015 International Property Maintenance Code. We use that for the rental inspections as well. This is going to carry over for the point of sale. It's a book that we just follow to a T, basically. It guides us on what we're looking for. I have made up a checklist when people do come ask about rentals. So I've created one. I hand it to them for the most common violations that need to be corrected. So we do have that available.
Just a quick comment about the checklist. It's very similar to FHA inspections. 2/3 of our deals in Allen Park are FHA. They have to go through that inspection too. So this is a redundant inspection and a penalty to people that maintain their homes already, like myself, and I know a lot of people got beautiful homes. 2/3 of the deals are gonna be inspected anyway, and if those repairs are not done, we can't close. Again, it's the same thing. The seller has to do them or the buyer has to do them, or we can't close. So there'll be an inspection done one way or the other, and I'd hope to keep it off of our budget in Allen Park.
Could I ask you before you step down, do you tell your clients that the FHA inspections will come through? And do you put anything in their sales agreement or that if the FHA requires that and it's $10,000, do they have to go through with the sale?
Every FHA deal has an addendum, and that addendum spells out it has to appraise. It has to have no side deals. It also has, if there are FHA repairs, who is responsible? And every FHA addendum has seller, yes, I'm responsible for a certain amount, or no amount, or the buyer. So yes, that is negotiated in the contract so we don't get in over our heads. And I don't know how other agents run their business, but I wouldn't want to just say whatever, because what if somebody comes out and says $10,000? You know, we need to set limits. And then if those limits are exceeded, then the buyer and seller can negotiate who's going to do anything at all. Is that okay, Mr. Matekas?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Speak. Is it, if the buyer has to do it, is there a time frame that they have to do it in, or?
Yes, it has to be done before closing unless there's a particular situation like concrete work in the winter, then they'll escrow the money and it'll get done in the spring. Any other questions?
Same in the VA?
Pardon me?
Same with the VA?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I forgot one more comment that I wanted to make is that I would say 90% of the deals, maybe even more, have a private home inspection where a person who pays a private home inspector, the buyer pays a private home inspector $300 to $400, and they spend 2 to 3 hours going through that home and giving the new homeowners a book of all the things that are safety concerns and future concerns of the repairs needed in that home. And that is always way more comprehensive than a city inspection. So, you know, a city inspector typically will spend 5 or 10 minutes looking at a home. So, just wanted to add that.
Hello, Dan Lloyd, Astor Avenue. I just had a quick question about logistics of this. This is mentioned this would probably have an uptick in building inspections. So I'm just curious, as our building department stands right now, do we have the manpower to enforce the ordinance, or is this going to be something that we need to bring in outside contractors, or like was mentioned, possibly like software? So I'm just curious about the logistics of implementing the ordinance. Thank you.
Matt, you want to come back and tell us if now you, no, you're done. You sat down. You sat down. You asked a question, and he's the guy in the department that has to deploy everybody.
As far as manpower, we definitely have the manpower to do it. The software, we already have the software. Now it's just creating a workflow to put it into the system. The software is already, we already have it. There's no additional costs for our software. It's just creating the workflow to issue the certificates moving forward.
And
Can I also make another comment as far as private inspections? Those are suggestions. Those don't always have to get done. Yeah, it'd be great if they got done, or someone would take a concession on the price, but we will hold them to the standards set with the city and the property maintenance code.
There's going to be 400 sales this year. We've averaged, for 30 years, we've averaged over 250 a year. And so we can handle that number of inspections. And since I send every new homeowner a note saying, welcome to Allen Park, I know that from about May, third week in May until about right now, we're probably at about 370 to 380. So the compression of all of those is during the building season. And you're confident that without additional staff, we can do timely those inspections as needed by?
At this point, yes.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments by the audience? Seeing no one come forward or hearing no one waving their hands or jumping up and down, we'll close the public hearing and we will go on to item 3. I need a motion for the final reading and adoption of the ordinance on which we just had the public hearing. Motion, please.
Motion.
Councilman Cisco has moved.
Support.
Councilman Galvarecki has supported. Can we have the final reading, Mr. Clerk?
All right. Sorry. We have a motion by Councilman Cisco, supported by Councilwoman Gavareki, that there be a final reading of ordinance number 4-2019, an ordinance amending Chapter 10, Buildings and Building Regulations, addition of Article 10, Minimum Housing Standards, and Section 10-400 through 10-405 to prevent blight by issuing a minimum maintenance of dwellings, shall this ordinance pass? And we will start in alphabetical order.
Well, we're going to have a discussion before I call the vote, all right?
All right, just let me know and I will call the roll call.
Thank you.
And again, I want to remind the mayor and council that if this is successful, next meeting, you will get the application, the fees and everything.
Thank you. All right, you know what the motion is, and is there any discussion by the council at this juncture? Questions? Mayor Pro Tem McLeod.
I sat in on the Legal Affairs Committee that went over this and know that it's something that has come before other committees. And we had some good counsel and guidance from the planner. There seemed to be a consensus that this is good for property values and helps prevent the decline. But I started to dig a little further. I made a few more calls. I thought I knew where I stood on this. I looked at the list, and on it are things. Well, my first approach was, why should residents be living in homes that aren't as safe as ones that people are renting? We have a strict list of things that need to be done in rental homes, and so I looked at it from the viewpoint, as a renter, I could be living in a safer environment than as a homeowner. Then I started to think about the other home inspections that we get. I looked at the checklist, and some of them are safety items. Smoke alarms, where they should be placed, carbon monoxide detectors. Some fairly simple things. Other things you look at, they should be covered by current ordinances. Crumbling sidewalks, crumbling porch steps and porches, and roofs that are coming apart, and buildings that are leaning. So I asked a few more questions of a few more people, and I got some input from someone who works for a large firm, not one of our smaller local realtors, but a larger firm. And it was pointed out to me that we have a number of neighboring communities who have point-of-sale inspections, all of which have lower home values than we do. So the argument that this particular ordinance will prevent a decline in our property values starts to get some holes in it. I'm really struggling with this. I see the benefits. I hear the other side. I guess we'll just have to wait and see when I vote. Thank you.
Councilwoman Gavricki.
Thank you, Mayor. As being Chair of Legal Affairs and working on this ordinance for some time, I'm glad to bring it here, vote on it. Where it falls, it falls. However, in my last probably 5 years, my life has changed in some point to it has required me to look for a new house and try to re-look for another new house. In doing so, I've seen things that were not done. Everybody likes to do the home DIY projects. Google it and see if you can do it. In the meantime, I've seen things that were outlet boxes by bathroom vanities with electrical outlets that weren't covered or properly installed. I've seen things, so I understand where Mr. Baker is saying the integrity of the house and the safety of the house needs to be looked at. Yes, I understand what you're saying there, Mr. Kettlehut, in regards to home inspections do get taken. I had a home inspection. The only thing about the home inspection, it doesn't make you have to do anything. It suggests what can be done. It doesn't tell you that you need to go to fuses and get rid of the, circuit breakers from the fuses. It could suggest that you do that, but it doesn't make you do that. A home inspection would make you do that, and unfortunately, there's a cost. I've had a parent that had to sell and had to do a home inspection at her house. You know, it was a cost involved. It was a more up-to-date home, so I get it. It wasn't as costly as it could be for some people here in the city. I've seen people list houses not anybody in this room, I don't think, where it is a 3-bedroom house and there's technically only 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms being in the basement without an egress to get out of. How is that safe? How are people doing this? I've seen pictures on Facebook, not on Facebook, but on realtor pages where the bathtubs are totally crumbling. There's visqueen around the whole side of the tub, and they're trying to sell the house like this. People are living in unsafe houses. So if you're going to sell it, all we're trying to do is make it safe for the person coming in to live in that home. So I've had an eye-opening experience looking at some houses, trying to find a bigger home. It hasn't worked, so I guess that's meant that I need to stay. But it's been a very eye-opening experience. I'm not struggling with this. I've decided my vote. I appreciate the comments. I do understand it's a tough decision for everybody to make, and it's a way of change. However, I think we're one of the only communities not currently doing point-of-sale inspections. More than 2/3, I don't know, but I think we're probably one of the only ones not doing it. So if the realtors can deal with other communities doing it, then I also believe you can deal with Allen Park doing it as well. So that is where I stand on this. So it's for everyone's safety. And it's not going to mirror it's mirroring and not going to be any different than what's being checked for rental properties currently. So again, I get it. You do get home inspections, and they are done. The only unfortunate part, I had a book. It is a nice printed book. It gives you suggestions, but it doesn't give you a time frame to do it. So that's that's where I stand. Thank you.
Any other comments by council members? Councilman Templin.
Yeah, on the face of this, I like the idea that, you know, to make the houses safe, but I think could be more of an education on the people when they go to a real estate agent to encourage home inspections so they can bring up their shortfalls on a house. So I think some of the standards, and I don't know, but Mr. Baker would have to address it. Are all these standards, is it unsafe to have your house with a fuse box instead of circuit breakers? Is it unsafe to not have GFI in the kitchen? I mean, I would rather see through education, through home inspections, is that, yes, here's your shortfalls, and you know what you're buying, and you fix them up. When I bought a house 20 years ago, I had an inspection. I knew all the shortfalls. I didn't have 6 months to get it done. For one thing, if I was forced to do it, wouldn't have had the money in 6 months to get all the things done that my house had. But it took me a couple years. I brought everything up to code that needed to be, that the home inspector, you know, pointed out. And that's how I feel, is that I'm not comfortable with making people have government, Big Brother, come in and tell you what you have to do, and you have to do it in this amount of time, especially if new buyers, a young couple that borrowed money from mom and dad and grandparents, and now they're forced to come up with more money. I don't see it happening. Now we're making our market short on young people coming in, and that all that we can have is rich people moving to Allen Park that can afford to have it fixed up, or an elderly person that can't afford to have things fixed up before they have to move into a home, or the family's stuck with a house that wasn't kept up for 20 years. That these standards, it's not always that the house is unsafe. It's just not up to modern standards, which some people are fine with living that way.
Councilman Rourke.
Since we're talking about it, and I don't want to do a commercial for realtors, but it seems like, we had a couple last meeting talk to us about it, and part of it was the inconsistency of the inspection, where somebody saw something 3 years ago and nothing changed, and somebody saw 5 things this time. So that consistency was a concern, and I've spoke to some other than one sitting here, real estate agents that said, the buyer has to trust the real estate person that they're doing what they're supposed to do to help you get into a safe house, if that's what that inspection is.
I know the person that I did when I bought my house, that person went up on a roof and went into the attic and did the things you want them to do. So as Larry said, it's an educational thing too as well. Any citizen buying a house, know who that realtor is and what they've done and how they do it and the checklist to get done. And I thought in the discussion before, I think when Dave was here, and maybe Matt can answer it, that there's still a certificate of occupancy that had to have been signed off by the city before that person can go into that house. Is that only with our inspection and not an outside inspection?
Yeah, that doesn't apply to residential unless it's a brand-new home.
Okay, because I thought that was part of it, but.
Am I correct in that?
Any other comments by council?
I'll say something.
Councilman Cisco.
I also sit on legal affairs, and I wasn't on 4 years ago, but this point of sale was brought up during that time, and during my time of these 4 years, it was brought up again. And we've worked on it since we've been, came together the first time. And it's been back and forth, and we had excellent input from our city planner. Unfortunately, he's not here today. If you talk to the inspectors, there are a lot of bad homes in Allen Park. You better believe it. They need to be fixed. How many homes have we torn down lately? 4?
Right close to that.
Yeah. Maybe another one on the way.
A couple more candidates.
Yeah, so, look, there's nothing that's perfect here. And I would rather err on the side of doing something right for the entire community, because it's about community standards also. And we have a lot of complaints about homeowners, they don't take care of this, don't take care of that. Well, in a roundabout way, that's what we're trying to do, is to just make things better. I'm a senior, I'll probably be dead, my wife will sell the home, but, it needs to be fixed up. I don't want to sell somebody a house that's dilapidated. And if they want to take on the financial part, homeowners can come to an agreement. Happens every day. And so it doesn't go so far one way, that it doesn't go so far the other way. There is a middle ground for everything. And this is a good thing for Allen Park. I believe Mr. Boomer told me that out of the 19 surrounding communities, I believe 16 have a point of sale. So there's 3 that don't, and we're one of the 3. So 2019, it's time to make our community be better, look better, and have people be proud all the time. And that's how I feel. Thank you, Mayor.
Any other comments? Before I call a vote, I'd like to make some comments on our proposal tonight. In speaking in favor of the motion, I think the inspection requirements make sense. The last section of the inspection and occupancy requirements state that the purchaser and buyer, if the inspection says certain things have to be done, they can't be done quickly. The purchaser wants the property and is willing to do the inspections themselves or do the work themselves. They can get a temporary occupancy, have 90 days, and have an additional 90 days for good cause, which most of the time that I've seen, good cause means that you're actually doing some work to do the repairs. Obviously, as Mr. Kettle pointed out, if concrete is your problem, your front porch or your steps, which are generally the problems, the extra 90 days are going to be granted. You'll see that almost in our ordinance all the time. We'll cite people in their homes that their fence is wrong, the garage is wrong, something's wrong, And we know they can't fix it in the winter because you can't just do the work. And so they'll be given time for the spring because we know that, you know, you're not going to be digging 42-inch holes through the ice and snow. So I think most of the people act reasonably in that regard. The other thing that I would say is my experience has not been much with FHA or VA sales, have been more conventional sales. And what I've seen there have been distressing from time to time. Not the majority of time, but enough times that it makes lawyers very rich on one side or the other. And I think our homes, one of the reasons we haven't had as many problems in our city as other cities, we went to all brick homes, we went to higher standards at an earlier time, and they lasted a long time. But we have a lot of people who are still selling homes that were original to them in the late 40s or the 50s. Their electrical standards, their plumbing standards are quite a bit different. And if we don't do something to update them, we're asking for problems there. And the person that has the problem and the person that comes to City Hall with that problem is the person that purchased the home. Whether he had the voluntary inspection is one thing, but at least if our building department has done the inspection, I believe that there will be a reasonable inspection for maintenance of the property and maintaining it in a safe manner. And I think that's what we really want. I've just watched since we proposed this ordinance, and I noticed, not to knock our realtors here, because certainly they wouldn't do that, but there are 2 homes being advertised by the realtors as 3-bedroom homes. They only have 2 bedrooms. The realtors ought to know that, but they're going to sell it. Without an inspection, the people that move in, or maybe are going to put somebody in that room that they call a 3rd bedroom in the basement. No reasonable way to leave that basement in the event of some problem in the home. And then what do you say when that event occurs? You know, and you can say, these are professionals, they ought to know. I don't see the Downriver Board pulling anybody's licenses, giving them 30-day suspensions or anything else. They're here, the people are to sell the homes. That's their job. And their job is to represent the seller. Now, if the seller wants to do something that they know to be improper or illegal, it seems to me that what they ought to do is say, well, I can't represent you. That's a real hard thing to say, particularly if it might not rise to their opinion that it's a real safety hazard. But we have it in the ordinances. We wouldn't permit it if you were renting your house to do that. We wouldn't have permitted if you were renting the house not to have it up to the current electrical and plumbing codes. Why should a tenant have a better, safer home to live in Allen Park than a new resident coming in? The person that's in there has chosen to live that way. Am I going to run in his house, you know, like some invader and tell him after 50 years of living there that he's got to make all these changes? No, but if he's exiting his house, then I think the house ought to meet the standards of the community, and those standards change over time. You have to think about, I worry about the electrical system. When we started in this community, you had a 50-amp box. As Councilwoman Gawarecki said, those boxes had fuses. Now we require circuit breakers, which are more effective and safer, and you have to have 150-amp fuses, or 150
Breakers, circuit breakers.
what is it, 150-amp capability on your circuits, which is a much larger system. I think of my father. He built his house in 1938. When I finally came in there and looked, when my mother died, I said, Dad, you can't live like this. This is not safe. When you built the house, you didn't have an electric range, you didn't have an electric refrigerator, you didn't have an electric dryer. You know, you didn't have a microwave oven, you didn't have 3D TV sets. You got all these things, and you got them on this little, I think there are 10 circuits in that house, all right? Now, I know 1938 is one of the older homes, but we had a lot of homes built under that same thing until this city became a city and started putting in their ordinances in the early 60s. But by that time, we had built 75% of the homes that the city had. So you're talking about a totally different time. And I don't know if the city councils and the people that are charged with carrying out the ordinances that we put in effect should sit back and say, we think there are enough questions about the safety to the homes that we need to put this in effect. Are we going to get rich? You know, people say, oh, you're going to make so much money. No, we're not going to make money on it. I'm pretty certain we're going to lose money on it. I think if, as suggested, the fee goes through, I think it's going to be $150 that'll be up here at the next meeting if this passes. That's the same charge that we charge on the rental properties, and it's designed to deflect some of the costs, but it certainly won't deflect all the costs, but it will deflect the costs of those outside contractors that we have to come in and may do the electrical and the plumbing, because we'll do, with our own people in all cases, we will do the building and the concrete inspections. We'll do those ourselves. Those are pretty obvious when they're at the issue. So to me, it's that time comes in every community when our housing stock starts to age and you don't want it to really become unsafe for those people who follow and become the homeowners. Those are still the people we're looking after. I'm not trying to harm the good citizens that have been here all these years. Certainly, I don't think any of us want to see that happen, and we've created some flexibility. So just as the one realtor here said tonight, if you had a FHA, there would be this clause, just like I put in all my contracts when I represent the seller. The seller says they're not going to be responsible for more than $500 of improvements, cleanup, or whatever. If it's over that, they got to negotiate a new deal. Okay? And that's can always be the case. Except here, if it's a safety issue, and it may be a real safety issue for that person there, that they at least know they're living in an unsafe condition. If they choose not to sell the house because they have to reduce the price to allow the purchaser to have the money to make the repairs, that we've at least warned them that you have electrical problems, you have a major roofing problem, you have a plumbing problem. Those are the things that I worry about. But I've seen builders, not in this city, fortunately, but I haven't seen them install the windows backwards in a house. They don't open, they do open, they fall out. And so oftentimes the people, after they've fought that battle, they still keep the windows in backwards and try and sell them to the next person. The one I saw, the house inspector, he didn't try opening all the windows. Very interesting. So 40% of them with the home inspector, the windows fell out, you know. But I have an inspection, which they're going to put in the trial and say, well, everything was checked. There was no problem, even though the windows were in backwards. You couldn't open them unless they fell out. So I know it's anecdotal, and as much as our realtors sell a lot more homes, I'm only called when the things go wrong as a lawyer. But unfortunately, I make too much money off them because too many things go wrong on too many times. That I think home inspections might avoid those issues, give us better homes, safer homes for the people that are going to live in them. For the person that's there, if they choose to live at that risk, that's a different story. I would hope that if they see that, they may make the changes. So I don't see a negative side that it's going to be a horrible destruction to the sale of homes in the city. It hasn't seemed to be in the other 16 communities that surround us. They have home prices, in many cases, very similar to ours, if not even better. So those are my comments. If there are no other comments by council, I'll ask for the vote. And I think I'll ask for a roll call vote.
All right, Mayor. Again, we had a motion by Councilman Cisco, supported by Councilman Gavaraki. The adoption of ordinance number 4-2019, an ordinance amending Chapter 10, Building and Building Regulations, addition of Article 10, Minimum Housing Standards, in Section 10-400 through 10-405 to prevent blight by issuing a minimum maintenance of dwellings. Shall this ordinance pass? This is our, we'll start with Councilwoman Gavaraki.
Yes.
Mayor Mategas.
Yes.
Madam Pro Tem McLeod.
Yes.
Councilman Rourke. No. Councilman Cisco.
Yes.
And Councilman Templin.
No.
I have 4 yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2 no. The yeses prevail. It will be published in a manner prescribed by law. And again, we will be bringing back within 30 days, because the ordinances don't go into effect till 30 days, the application and the fees for approval by this body.
All right. We're at the last item, which is to convene into a closed session for purposes of the purchase or lease of real property as permitted under MCL 15268D. Calling for a roll call vote, but I need the motion before council. Councilman Cisco is moved. Mayor Pro Tem McLeod has supported. Roll call vote, please.
All right. The next person in line would be Mayor Mategas.
Yes.
Madam Pro Tem McLeod. Yes. Councilman Rourke. Yes. Councilman Cisco.
Yes.
Councilman Templin.
Yes.
And Councilwoman Gavareki, and we will, again,
Yes.
as the mayor said, we will convene in a closed session for the purpose of purchase of or lease of real property as permitted under MCL 15.268.
I would ask the council if we could have 5 minutes break before we meet in the council's workroom.